Hi folks, my name is Alex Wiseman. Welcome back to Organizational Leadership and Change Management. We're on day 5 and it's a good day for us. Today we're going to be talking about your theory of action and how you can create one and what are some of the ways that you can think about synthesizing the material from the first half of the class. Couple things we're going to be doing today. One is you're going to be spending some time presenting your theory of action to the class and explaining how it applies to one situation or event in particular. This hopefully is a situation or event that you're basing all of your written assignments around. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say and how you're going to say it to the class. The next thing we want you to do is to create a template for considering the dynamic use of each frame to address complex situations and events. And you'll see what I mean as we move forward. In your learning modules, you'll have a refreshingly low page count, 61 pages. I can't believe I'm saying that's a low page count. And 12 minutes of videos to watch. As usual, I want you to go through this before you come to class and make sure that you've completed everything as you move forward. I tried to lighten it up a little bit, so you can see there's a Office Space movie clip here, and there's going to be a clip from The Office. Because we're reading a couple of chapters, in fact some of the final chapters from Bowman EDL, Chapter 15 on integrating frames for effective practice, and Chapter 20 on bringing it all together. And what I'm going to ask you to do is look at two clips, one from a movie, one from a TV show. These are obviously comedies, but they deal with the workplace and organizational more problems than anything else. And I want you to see what you see happening in each of these clips from a frames perspective. In other words, how can you see the structural frame or the human resource frame or the political frame or the symbolic frame showing itself in each of these? Or how can you understand what's happening in these clips using those frames as a reference point? So just how would you see what's going on here? So we'll have an opportunity to discuss that in class. Please make sure that you take a look at these beforehand. We might look at these videos again in class, but I'd like for you to have a little advance warning so that you can prepare a little bit. I will warn you that in this clip in particular, the name of the pretend customer that this character, Jim, takes is something that, I wouldn't say it in church. Let's put it that way. But it clearly can make the TV censors, so I thought it was okay to include here. Next, we're going to move on for our second module, Managing Mistakes and Maintaining Integrity, and I've got two more chapters from Bowman EDL. Both of them don't deal really with the issues of ethics and integrity very strongly. However, we're gonna look at a training module. I know you're excited about that, but you've probably seen these sorts of things a lot if you work in a school or you're an educator of any sort. Certainly I see these kinds of things for my job working at a university setting, so these training videos are nothing new, but this one is specifically geared towards schools, and it crosses a lot of the different topics that we've been talking about. It gives us a chance to think about all the different frames or all the different ways of looking at an organization, from the structural all the way to the symbolic. And it's quite frankly, it's a pretty good video as far as training videos go. If you get excited about it, there are two more. This is part 2 of 3, so you could watch the whole series if you want. But also take a look at this. We'll take a look at it again in class, and we'll discuss what's happening. But remember, the idea for today is to really think about how can we understand some of these situations, and how can we interpret what's going on, and how can we maybe even come to some resolution about next steps to take, or how are we going to lead or change our organization in these kinds of situations using our different frames of understanding or perspective. For the application activities, as always, there's an online quiz that's going to be linked here. I'd like for you to do a written draft of two things. One is the key context and background subsection, and the other is the professional knowledge-based subsection. This will take a little time because this one requires you to do a bit of lit review. This one you should probably already have under your belt. You should know this already. For both of them, you can, I have some resources here you can consult. One, this key context and background link is actually to, I'm just going to open it up so I can show you, a link to how you can write background information for papers, but it gives you a whole list of the different kinds of factors you might want to consider, from the cultural to the economic to the gender, all the way down to the social and the temporal. So it's meant to be a resource, not to be an exhaustive list of what you're actually supposed to be including in that. The next thing I'm asking you to do for the application activities is the professional knowledge base. Again, use Mintrop's Chapter 5 as inspiration. There will be some examples of what that might look like that you can, or a description of what that would look like in that chapter. We can also talk about it if you'd like in class, if you're watching this before day 5. For our class itself, remember we're still looking at case studies. I'd like for you to always refer back to Module 0.1 and 0.3 on the Start Here page if you have questions about how you should prepare this. This is a little bit of a different case study. We're actually looking at a case that was published in the Journal of Cases in Educational Leadership. This is a publication that is dedicated to creating case studies like this, and it deals with leadership and some conflicts in the context of an independent international school. And since some of you in this class are going to be from this background, I thought it would be good for us to have an opportunity to look at a specific example of something. You'll see that it reads a little bit like an article, but it is a case. And if you haven't looked at these before from a journal, from this journal in particular, just trying to scroll to the end, you'll see that there are teaching notes for people like me who are using these cases for instructional purposes. Feel free to look at those. I mean, we will probably use some of these discussion prompts. We'll probably use some of the teaching notes and the activities. So I don't have a problem with you guys taking a look at this ahead of time. You just know what we're going to do and what we're thinking about. But prepare it as you would normally prepare. Make sure that you're ready to go for the discussion in class of this case, and we'll move forward just fine. As always, don't forget that I'd like for you to ask questions in class, but make your comments and share reflections in the Leave a Reply section right down here. All right, sounds good. I will see you in class, and I'm looking forward to it.